Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and the wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Hello, and how would you like to be able to grow your business and to achieve your first million in sales? And for that, we have a treat for you because we have a special guest. His name is Phil, and he's going to be sharing the secret, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the funny, how how he managed to go through his journey and achieve that barrier at some point that reach him first million in sales. So Phil, can you please introduce yourself and describe a little bit more what you do?
Sure. My name's Phil Masiello. I've been an entrepreneur for my entire life. I started my first business when I was 27.
Wow.
It was a disaster. It was a total disaster. We can talk about that a little bit more, but I went on to build a skincare brand with a model named Carol Alt. I built food retail stores as well as online food e-commerce stores. I was in the shaving business, and now I'm the founder of Crunch Growth, which we help other brands to scale on e-commerce primarily, although we do a little bit in brick and mortar. But we focus a lot on Amazon selling, building brands on Amazon, not selling, and e-commerce and building brands on e-commerce, and that's really our sweet spot.
Wow, that's fantastic. And tell us, Phil, about this first business that you started with 27 years old. What happened?
Well, I grew up in the food business. I grew up
Uh-huh.
in restaurants and things, and I learned early on that I didn't want to be in the restaurant business. The hours are terrible. It's just a hard life. But I still loved food, so I built a food store, like a specialty food store, and
It was a brick and mortar,
it was brick and mortar. That was my
like a
first
store,
business.
like a mini supermarket.
Yeah, like a mini supermarket. Yeah.
Okay.
People would come in and they would buy a lot of emphasis on fresh foods, prepared foods, pastries,
Wow.
as well as some very special, grocery items like olive oils and jellies and jams and imported things that you couldn't find everywhere else. And it was a great idea. I failed not because the business was bad. I failed because I was a terrible leader. And I was a terrible manager of process at the time. I didn't know what I didn't know. I thought I was smarter than I was. I wasn't good at managing processes. Every day we were busy, and every day was like a fire drill, running just to keep up. I was working 7 days a week. It was just not a good. It was just a poor execution of a good plan.
But I think that I'm glad that you brought that up because it said a lot about you, right? Because at some point in our entrepreneurial journey, we find this thing and we have to embrace it. I think I have a similar challenge. I started my one was the opposite. My first business was in property business. Somehow got lucky, right? And that business make a lot of money. We managed to sell it over 5 million. However, because that business was running in autopilot and was very profitable and so on, I had this brilliant idea to open a restaurant, and I lost £250,000 and 2 years of my life. in that venture. Yeah, 2 years of my life because I had to be there Monday to Sunday, right? In the restaurant. And but let me tell you, I don't regret it. It was the best MBA that I ever had. I think that when people here in United Kingdom they want to go to university and they want to spend like 60,000, 80,000, 100,000 to study a master in business administration, I always tell them, listen, you want a good MBA, open a restaurant. open a restaurant, and I can tell you that will be the best MBA of your life, because what you gonna learn there. And I talk a lot with restaurant owners, honestly, and tell them, listen, man, if you have a restaurant and you're making profit, what are you doing restaurants? It's so complex. If you're making money doing this, why are you doing this? Because oh my God, you have to deal with teams, you have to deal with food cost, you have to deal with process, and yeah, I thought that because I was selling like a million, I knew everything. I went to this restaurant like I'm the big guy. I know everything about business. This is easy. Oh my God. I have a proper slap on the face, and I didn't. I was so naive and so clueless, and my first business was just luck.
Yeah.
So that restaurant was still the lesson. So that I learned from there, I apply today. So I think that as part of your journey, and especially that you start in this sector, which actually I think that it helped you somehow to develop the skills that if or the organization that you're running today. Something is there out of that experience that whatever mistake you did, whatever, like you were talking about leadership, you actually embrace it, because when things don't go of the right way we want, especially and when we lose money, is when I learn. I only learn when I lose money. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, well, I did sell the business, and
Oh
after
wow, you managed even to sell it. Yeah.
yeah, after 4 years, it was I could have made more money working at McDonald's for 4 years, but I sold the business and I took the money, and I did go back to graduate school, but not. I didn't go back to graduate school because I thought that getting an MBA was going to cure my problems. Thought I went back because I thought I needed a reset on my thinking. I felt like I needed to think differently. And that's what I was looking to get out of my education. And then while I was there, I moved to Washington, D.C. And then while I was there, I got involved with a larger specialty food chain. They had multiple stores, and I got involved as an equity partner, and on the operating side. And there, I was surrounded by people who actually did know how to lead and did know how to manage process. So I learned from there and actually spent a lot of time in that company doing entrepreneurial things. I built the direct to consumer side of the business.
Wow.
I developed a smaller store model to penetrate urban areas. I developed food as a gift program and things like that, which enhanced the bottom line. So that was a good education, and we sold that business. And then I started another retail business called the Daily Markets, which were small urban stores, and grab and go meal stores. And then we started one of the first meal websites on the internet, and that whole business got sold to a very large supermarket chain.
Wow.
And so I had to go and work for them for a couple of years, but and then I didn't like that so much. I'm not a good employee.
Yeah, we become unemployables at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not good at that.
However, there is something that I think that when we do different business, I always say this like the girlfriends, right? Some of them are better than the other one, and I think when I had this experience with the restaurant, it was helped me to shape, yeah, and to reset and rethink what I really want and what I really don't want, and what are my strengths and what were my weakness, right? So I think that when you went to work for this retail store that you found, I think, some mentors, you find some leaders, you find people that actually knew how to do things, and it give you you start to learn from them, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I learned a
Learning
lot
from the
about.
best. Yeah.
Yeah, I learned a lot about different aspects of the business, not just about operating the stores, but about finding locations, the real estate side of it, the financing side of it, raising capital. That was really my
Wow.
first um, introduction to raising capital, and I was instrumental in doing that because again, we were still a small company. We didn't have huge overhead, but so
Mhm.
I learned how to raise capital there, which suited me fine as I went through my other businesses because that was a skill that came in handy. So
And something that you share with us is that you take care of the direct to consumer. And I got the feeling that this is the part that you love the most. I think that this is the sweet spot when in that company you start to work in the direct to consumer area. I think that this is, you realize, I think that this is the business that you want to be. This is what you really are passionate about, right?
oh yeah, the reason I like direct to consumer and the
I love
thing
it.
that
We can talk for 3 hours about this.
but the thing that really did it for me was I'm very analytical, and it used to drive me up a wall when we would sit in meetings with retail stores where you're basically guessing about what your advertising spend did, and you're guessing about what your sales did and your ads did and things like that. And nobody was paying attention to really customer growth, and it was all about sales and gross margin, and which is important, don't get me wrong, but it just didn't seem to me that we had the right KPIs, that we were looking at the right KPIs.
The
And
right
when I
metrics, right? Yeah.
yeah, and when I got into direct to consumer, especially e-commerce, direct to consumer, everything can be measured. Everything. I can tell you what ad produced what revenue, what ad worked, what ad didn't work, what channel worked. I can see everything. And so there you can make extremely better decisions about where you're spending your money and sort of hone that spend into the places where it's driving your profitability. And that's what I love about it. And so,
We have this issue here in London, for example. I don't know. In London, we have these red buses, right? And the companies, they spend a fortune advertising in these buses, right?
yeah.
And they put an advertising there. And the more I see those buses, I think these guys are spending a fortune in those ads. But they don't really know how many people see those ads, how many people actually will take action. There is no way that you can measure that. The bus is all around all London, right? So, I mean, for brand awareness, it's good, but I don't think that. And then the whole direct to consumer has something amazing that I discovered is that actually you go direct to the consumer. So you don't need to stop by the retail store, which it goes the whole product. You get it from wholesale. You need to buy it. You have need to give wholesale price to a retail. The retail need then the retail is who's doing the direct to consumer for you, and then every retail have a different agenda, different shelf space, different priorities, and 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 it's difficult. It's difficult to get a product across in that area. Compare, especially if it's a new product, compare if you actually specialize with direct to consumer, which is something that exactly I agree with you. You can measure from A to Z everything that's going on, right?
Yep. Yeah.
But now, yeah. But now let's talk about the most important part of direct to consumer. And I was reading your bio and I visit the website, and it's about building the brand, right?
Oh yeah.
So what are the secrets behind, because you can have a very good product, but if you're not able to build a brand to tell that story, the consumer is going to be very difficult to reach your consumer, to create that community around that product. So what are the common grounds? Which advice do you have for people out there that they find a really nice product with a very good margin in China, whatever, and they want to put it in Amazon, and they think that it's easy just to find the product, put whatever name you want, put it there and it's gonna sell. And the thing is a little bit more sophisticated than that, right?
Yeah, that's when you really look at that business, and I've been on Amazon since 2006, and when you have guys
Wow.
that are selling, they're just going out finding a product, putting their name on it and selling it. It's not a sustainable model because 90% of the time they're going to a manufacturer who's selling that to everybody else. So you just have a Me Too product. And when you have a Me Too product that has no emotional attachment to the consumer, then all you're ever going to compete on is price. And it's not sustainable because you're never going to be profitable. The biggest thing I tell people, and we only work with brands and we only work with people who want to build brands. And the reason is because I tell people at some point in time, you're building a business, you're going to want to sell it. Most people do. And a brand sells for a multiple of sales. A product seller sells for a multiple of profit. And most of the product sellers are not profitable. They eke out a profit. And so you can do all that work for what? And it's an up and down world because then somebody else comes in and buys the product and sells it for less. Then you have to lower your price. The
And
only
Amazon
people.
can launch their own product, let's face it.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes when the product is selling, they do have the algorithm and they say, hey, these guys are selling this. So if you don't have your brand, you have nothing, right?
Yeah, and 90% of the time, the people who make money in that equation are the people selling you the product. The manufacturer is selling you the product. I see these ads on social media of these guys that say, oh, you come to us, we'll put your brand on it. We'll even handle the shipping and the distribution. And all you have to do is sit back. We'll build your Amazon store for you. Well, yeah, you're paying them to do all that. They made money. Now you have to sell the product and make money. If you don't sell the product, you don't make any money, but they already got paid.
And if you don't get the branding right, this is, and I can tell, wow, you have years of experience. This is something that you need to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Branding, like you said, right? Is a very profitable when it's done properly and correct. It's a very, very profitable thing to do, right? But you need to be working with the best. You have to be working with people that know what they're doing, because if you get it wrong, the rebranding, I know by personal experience, last time that we rebranded the product, it cost me again $250,000, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you get the branding wrong and you have to rebrand, this is not good. This is a very expensive exercise, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You want to do your research up front. What you're really trying to figure out is what is it that you can say about your product that the competitor can't say, number one, and is that valuable to the customer? And if it is, then you have to find your name and your mission and your points of difference, and you have to be able to communicate that in a way that is emotionally tied to the customer. Because if what you're really trying to build, you're not trying to sell products, you're trying to grow customers, you're trying to build customers, you're trying to retain those customers. That's when you know you have a business. When you get somebody to buy your product once, that's nice. But when they buy your product over and over again, that's when you know you have a business.
And then if you have the brand, you can generate multiple streams of income, right? You don't need to stick with Amazon. You can open your own website, you can open your own social media, you have your brand, right? You have multiple avenues that you actually can sell your product and grow your community, not only in Amazon, right? So what are the biggest tip that you can give to people out there, right? Because let's face it, right? The trial and error thing is very expensive.
Oh, yeah.
If you get it wrong, I know by experience, if you get a branding wrong, this is something that you do lose a lot of money, right? So what is the message that you have for the people? Because hey, if you find a company that have experience, if you find a mentor, if you find people that have been doing this for 15 years, then clearly you have a better chance to succeed in that journey. And you're talking about when you get that right, is can be solved by multiples, right? So what are the message that you have for the people? And I understand if you start in your business and you don't have resources, you have to do everything by yourself. But at some point, if your product is selling, or have some indication that it's selling and it's a good product, so what is the message that you have for the people out there? Why they should be looking at work with someone like you guys? Why they should be giving importance to building the brand from the beginning to get it right? Um, so what is your message for these people?
For somebody starting out trying to build a brand,
Try to bring them,
I mean,
build the brand. They don't have the resources, but when they have it, why they should come to you?
well, they should come to us because we're experts at it and we've been doing it a long time, and we can help them, and we can help save them a lot of aggravation because
Exactly. What can go? Tell us what can goes wrong if you get if you get the wrong branding, if you get the wrong message. Like you say, you compete in price, right?
yeah, you wind up wasting a lot of time, effort, and money because you're not going to get anywhere. And profitability, it's all in the upfront work. You look at somebody. 90% of the time, people start a business because they think they have a good idea and they think that it's a good idea for them, and they don't do the necessary research. They don't look at who the competitors are and what the competitors are doing, and things like this, right? You know. Let me use Amazon as an example because people don't look at. Everybody criticizes Amazon, and for a lot of reasons. A lot of sellers criticize Amazon, etc. But at the end of the day, I read these stories about how when Jet first came out years ago, Jet was another platform, and they were going to teach Amazon how to sell to the consumer. And that didn't work. They got acquired by Walmart, integrated into Walmart. But Walmart's been saying for years, they're going to overtake Amazon. They're going to overtake Amazon. Target's going to overtake Amazon. The reality of it is, Amazon has built a brand. That brand is built upon fast shipping, great customer service, wide selection, low prices. But the key is 92.7% of the people in the United States have the Amazon app on their phone, and it's the first place they go to look for a product when they hear about it. Now, that means that the customer is sticky. The customer has stuck to Amazon, right? So it doesn't matter what I think about Amazon as a seller or as a brand builder. It doesn't matter what you think. It matters what the customer thinks. The reason we all want to be on Amazon to sell is because that's where the customer is. And the customer is not leaving. So what they've done is the customer has attached themselves to that brand, right? There was a brand out a long time ago, pop sockets, that they were the little stands that popped out of your phone, and you attached it to the back of your phone, and it was a little thing that popped out, and you could put your phone down, and it was like a little stand, right? It was cute. They had little designs, and all the young kids were putting them on their phones. It was a big business. It was a simple idea, but he created a brand, Pop Sockets. And so there were a lot of people trying to knock it off, but they never could because he created that brand called Pop Sockets. And it became the nomenclature, right? Like, we don't take taxis anymore. We take an Uber. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't rent hotel bed and breakfast anymore. We use Airbnb. We Airbnb it. So when you've become the nomenclature, we don't get tissues, we get Kleenex, right? So when you become that, that's when you have a really strong brand, because now your brand has become the nomenclature for it. So this is what you're trying to achieve. You're trying to achieve stickiness with the customer. Customer wants to buy, they're going to come back to you for whatever it is that you're selling.
Exactly, and building the brand is key in that process. I think that Amazon here in UK, we use it a lot also, and the reason is that from the early beginners, right? A lot of people see Amazon now, and they think, wow, everybody goes to Amazon, right? But the reason why this company built the brand where they are right now is because from the early days, from the .com, they focus all the money, all the resources that they have in the customers
Yep.
and in the customer experience. What everybody was putting the money in advertising, what everybody was putting the money anywhere else, this company decided that they're gonna focus in the customers. They're gonna have the fastest delivery that they can. They're gonna return the products without fast. They mastered that, and the customer service. Um, it was spectacular. It is spectacular, right? And so what happened after they built the brand? Well, is probably that's why these guys, the founders, are probably one of the top 5 more richest people in the world. Is because they built a search engine like Google with this tiny difference that in this one people are actively looking to buy.
Yeah, exactly.
When in Google you're looking information, here in Amazon you're looking actually to buy. So it's a huge difference. That's why those guys are way more richer, right?
Yeah, sure.
They invent
Yeah.
a search engine where everybody that goes there are actively looking to buy. That's the only way, which is amazing, right? So to validate your product, if you want to know that your product is good, definitely need to list it there, and you will know for sure very quickly if you have a good product, and you have a good price. However, building that brand is what actually will set you free, right? Whatever industry you are, and for that, you have to work with companies like Crowd Growth, right? That can actually help you to that journey. They do have the experience. So basically, you fell in love with e-commerce, right?
Yeah, I love e-commerce. I love direct to consumer. I love consumers. I love studying consumers. I've been studying consumers for 30 years. I
I
love.
did check your website, and I thought that you have developed the brands for different products, right?
Oh yeah, we help all kinds of people, from small startups to Fortune 100. We do all kinds of things, but
Any particular industry, beauty, food?
anything consumer focused will do. Well, I would say that we are probably 30% food, 30% personal care, which includes beauty, and then we have a whole bunch of different other products in there, electronics or games or
Appliances?
SaaS products. We even have some industrial customers that
Really?
yeah, and
Also, SaaS products, also software as a
yeah.
service. Really? Wow.
Yeah, anything that's anything that has some sort of a consumer component to it. But we understand the fundamentals of building a brand. It doesn't matter whether
Which
you're building
industry,
it.
right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter what industry. The fundamentals are the same. But so a lot of people come to us for that reason. The creativity side of it, because we have in-house creative, we have people who can do videos and people who can do imagery and things like that. But more importantly, they come for our expertise, even if they don't use us to market for them, because a lot of companies have in-house advertising and in-house groups. They'll come to us to help them with the brand because we can help them think through and set up the way to test. Because when you have a new product, the best thing you can do before you start spending a lot of money on advertising, because I'll tell you, you cannot buy customers. So I don't care how much money you have. You can spend $1 million on advertising, and if the customer doesn't attach themselves to your product, you're just wasting that $1 million.
Yeah,
So
you have a very high conversion rate, right?
yeah, we try and go out, and do things in a small test way to see if you get a customer. And then when you get a customer to buy your product, you want to talk to that customer. You want to find out what they like, what they don't like, all that. And once you do, then it helps you refine. So before you go and spend big money, you're doing all these little tests to figure things out. I can't tell you how many times people have started out with a brand name, and then 6 months later, that brand name and logo have changed because of something that the consumer said they
Client
didn't
wants
like
something
it.
else, right?
Yeah. So we do a lot of testing and a lot of time so that we don't waste people's.
At a small
I don't,
scale, right?
yeah,
Before you really go for it, which is a um, very reasonable thing to do. I think that first you have to try like you said, in a small scale, if that brand is actually resonating with the customer, because
yeah,
this is the good time to rebranding. When everything is at a small scale, it's very easy to
exactly.
rebrand. But once you're out there, oh my God, this is a very expensive exercise. Yeah.
I've seen people go. I worked with this one company that before we got involved, they went to this group in New York. They spent $150,000 just getting them to make a logo, and then another
Wow.
$125,000 on a branding deck, and none of
And
it
they
was
got it wrong.
valuable. Everything was wrong. So, they spent $275,000 and it was worthless. It was just gone. And I felt bad telling them well, I didn't tell them, the customer told them that it wasn't good. And we actually did work for them, got them to the same place for $50,000, and we could have done it in the beginning like that. Just because somebody is in a big,
Name or corporate
doesn't mean that they know what they're doing. So
branding. Yeah, brand is a really, really strengthening, and not too many people in the out there knows really what it's about, right? And the people that really know, what happened, they are very difficult to access because the company that they work for, they make sure they pay them very good, so they
yeah,
don't have access to the people, because the people that really know about branding and with same with level of expertise that you have, these people are over there well paid somewhere else, that they're untouchable. It's gonna be very difficult to reach. So I want to ask you now, Phil, what the main question that our audience would like to know, and this is related about your journey as an entrepreneur. So, what are the 5 steps that you consider in your journey in general as an entrepreneur that make a huge difference for you building this business that you have right now?
yeah.
What was the first step that make a huge difference for you?
Yeah. So in any business that I've done, the first step, well, except for the first business, because that was a disaster. But the first thing I look at is what can I say about my business that my competitors can't say? Because that's going to determine my messaging. That's going to determine how I go to market. And nobody can say, no other marketing firm can say that they've been selling on Amazon since 2006. Nobody can say they've started all these businesses. Nobody can say, that they've got the breadth of experience we have. And most of them outsource or work with virtual assistants to do a lot of the things that we do in-house. So our skill level is above and beyond anybody else's.
And you can prove it.
Oh, absolutely. The second thing is, and this goes back all the way. I've heard this forever. People always say, surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. And I think that's a bunch of malarkey. It's not true. What you need to surround yourself with are people who share your vision, because you can have the smartest people, but if they're not going, if the oars aren't all rowing in the same direction, then you wind up with chaos, anarchy. You got a bunch of smart people that can't get out of their own way. So always surround yourself with people who share your vision for where you want to go. And I don't care what business you're in. I don't care what your business. I don't care if you're a SaaS product. I don't care if you're a consumer product. I don't care if you're an industrial product. Focus on building a brand. Don't focus on selling products. Because when you focus on building a brand, you're focused on retaining customers. When you retain customers, your sales are going to grow. You're going to sell products. And the other piece is always put the customer first. You always want to focus on what your customer needs. Don't focus so much on the profitability or your revenue. Focus on your customer, because the revenue and the profitability will come from building, good customers. And then the last thing, and one of the most important things, is you have to understand the economics of your business. You have to understand what's going to make you money and what's not going to make you money, and you have to make a decision as to which parts you're going to focus on. You're not going to last very long It's not that profit is there so that we can all get rich. Profit is like oxygen for a company. Without profit, you can't grow. Without profit, you can't hire more people and you can't take on more customers. So you need to understand the economic model of your business.
Yeah, and then what would be the step number 5?
Well, that was 5, right?
Ah, that was 5. Okay. So finding the economics, and I think that Phil, the at the end of the day, I think that people don't understand the long-term value of the clients, and that's
Oh,
why
yeah.
they don't put too much interest or the interest that they need to build in a brand. And to give you an example, we have one client once that rent one of our rooms for £900, and the client was inside that room for 12 years. So imagine if you multiply that, right? How much it costs to acquire this client and the revenue that this client produce. But why he stay is because we have that brand that they knew what to expect. They knew what already would be delivered to them. They knew that things break down, we fix them quickly. They knew that we take care of making sure that the property is clean, making sure X, Y, and Z. And this save a lot effort in customer acquisition. I think that the companies out there, they're spending a fortune in advertising, a fortune in customer acquisition, a fortune in marketing. But if you don't have that brand actually communicate effectively why you're different, guess what? Your conversion rates are gonna be huge. Your customer acquisition process is gonna be way
Expensive.
too expensive, and it's like you say, it's not. Is eventually it's not gonna click. It's gonna be a very it's gonna be an uphill journey, right?
Yeah, uphill battle.
You
Yep.
can make it, but it's hard. So what is the last message that Phil you can share with our audience? And also, if somebody is there listening in the car or going to work and they have this dream to find a nice product with a nice margin that actually can be profitable not only in Amazon but also in the whole direct to consumer space. So you can have, because let's face it, you find one of these products, only one, and you retire for life. It will give you income. It will give you a decent income for you to sustain yourself, right?
Yeah.
So for the people that are listening out there, and they have this dream that to find to look for that product and to set up the direct to consumer business, right? How they can find you? What is your process? How they can seek your help? How does it work?
Well, there's a couple of different ways. I have Crunch Growth, which is an agency, and I have great talented people, and we can help people from ideation all the way to bringing it to market to long term. I mean, we have long term clients, but I also philmasiello.com, where I coach and mentor entrepreneurs, and I what I find is people have a lot of great ideas, but they don't know how to start. They don't know how to take that first step, and they're afraid to take that first step. And you've got to overcome that fear if you really want to do it, because when you listen to any entrepreneur tell you, and I've been in this boat, I've founded businesses and I've taken the step, and there's a lot of fear. Everybody's afraid that they're going to fail, and that's okay, but you're not going to die. You might fail, but you're not going to die. And you're probably going to be able to get a job. If it doesn't work out, you'll be able to go back and get the job you had before. So just remove the fear and then focus on what you want to be, because if you let the fear take over, then you're never going to be successful. You have to push it aside and say, I'm going to go for it. So, to answer your question, there's two ways. Crunch Growth, we can help with from soup to nuts. We can do everything. We're a full service agency. And if we don't do it, like we don't do video for television commercials, but we have a partner that does, and we work very closely with them because we do run commercials on direct response television and also OTT channels, and which I
You can
love.
also measure those ones, right?
Yeah, because they because that, I love OTT advertising because, again, you can see exactly who's watching it. You know
You
exactly
measure
who it
it
is.
properly,
Yeah, you
yeah.
can measure it
It's
properly
brilliant,
versus
yeah.
just regular TV. So, and then philmasiello.com, I mentor people. So, and I mentor and coach entrepreneurs, so.
That's fantastic. And on that note, I think that Phil, and that's why it's important that you helping the entrepreneurs out there, specifically those that want to develop this area, because 80% of the success of the entrepreneur is on the mind, right?
Yeah.
And what's going on in the mind of the entrepreneur and how they face failures and how they overcome the adversity is a big part of the equation, right? And how to
Yeah.
not blame yourself when things doesn't work. And yeah, have somebody like you with that experience that can help out the people in the journey. That would be amazing. I wish that when I started my first business, somebody with experience guide me a little bit. I would love to. Yeah, I did have the capital, but it was. I didn't. I think that now we live in times that for good we can find mentors, we can find coaching. But back in the day when we started business, it was very difficult to find mentors, right? It didn't even exist, that thing, right? So we had to learn by ourselves. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for this valuable information that you share with our audience. We really appreciate it, Phil. And for all of you listening and this podcast, I advise you to listen it again. Take pen and paper and write some notes because today you're learning from the best. And if you have a product out there that you think that can make it, and you think that that you have a winning product, please work with Crunch Growth. Find your mentor. Find someone that actually can help you with the strategy that makes sense, like Phil described. They're not gonna go crazy to spend millions. They're gonna test it, your brand in a small scale. They're gonna see the response of the client, and depend what the client said. Maybe we have to change the name because until we don't get it right, we cannot press this button and amplify the product because this is not how it works. And you only learn that with experience. So if you have a product that you think that can make it to the next level, get your branding right, and everything gonna be fine. So thank you so much, Phil.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. And thank you for you, everyone, for listening, and see you in our next chapter, how successful entrepreneurs manage to overcome obstacles and achieve this first 1 million in sales despite the adversity. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.